talking about George Floyd's life and now his legacy, which is a very important one. And I've had friends send me some things as well as, how I can be a better ally and the actions and things that I can take to help my friends as well of different races. And
Do you have any examples of some small things that we can do?
yeah, my friend Justin actually sent me a few videos to look at when it came to neighborhood segregation, which was very interesting to me. And another one was the NRA Rifle Association and why it hits people in a certain way. I'm happy to throw that onto Facebook for us to kind of view. There's also an article on Vox on different tips and pointers of what you could do to become an ally. And one of them is to support your local African American leader. See what they might need in the communities to help them out. Another one is defunding the police. I personally don't feel like defunding the police is right. I'm not really for that.
Does
However,
that mean just like taking away the money that funds them for these municipalities or what?
yes, what it means is taking the money away and then allocating it to more important things that would help the community out, which I understand that. I really don't know how much the police force needs, so that's kind of a question I have to begin with is how much does the police force need to accurately and effectively do their job, and how much would be left over in that case to help the community out. I don't have facts on that. I don't really know how that works.
So it wouldn't be, the concept is not to unfund
I don't think so.
police, because we need a police force.
Right.
It is bringing it down
I think so.
and then dedicating that to another,
Yes.
to
Yes.
community outreach and that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Meaning if there's abundant amount of funds that can be used in other ways, not necessarily, I don't think necessarily tearing down the police force and removing people from the police force or what they need to do their job effectively, but I think it is allocating the additional funds that are not being used effectively to help out the communities.
Gotcha.
And then the other one, I know a lot of it is donating money to different organizations that could help out. One of the things that's interesting to me, I have a love-hate relationship with the government. I really do. I'm torn in all different places lately. Honestly, I'm torn with where I stand politically. I'm torn with where I stand with the government in general. I had a conversation with a friend the other day who we were talking about like helping out the communities, and people want the government to do more to help out the communities. I really do think, okay, let's just take Chicago, for example. No, I'm sorry, not Chicago. Let's take the state of Illinois.
Okay.
And if we're putting our money via taxes into the hands, like, let's say that there was something that came into policy or whatever that people will be taxed additionally to help out communities in need. Okay? To me, I already think that's taxes, and our tax dollars should be going towards that anyway. But let's say there was an additional tax. Do we really want the state of Illinois and the people running the state of Illinois to manage our money effectively? I mean, in terms of taking that money, what's supposed to go to the communities it's supposed to serve, and trust them with our money that they would actually do the right thing with it? They've already messed up how they handle our money in Illinois anyway. So I don't really have faith and trust that if money was to go to those communities, it would actually go there. I think first they need to take care of debts. So they need to take care of union debts and pensions and all of that other stuff first, I think, before they actually reach the communities that it needs to serve.
So that being said, then I guess I don't know the answer to this. What can be done to sort of start to? So you're saying there are a few things that need to happen before
No, no, no. I'm not
that.
saying that needs to happen before. I'm just saying that that's the way the government's going to allocate our money. That's the way the state of Illinois is going to take that
Okay.
money.
So they would do that.
Of course they would.
Because I'm at a loss as to how things can change.
Well, the only thing that you can do with your own money is to literally cut a check and mail it or hand it over to the people that need it. I mean, I don't trust the government to handle my money at all. I just don't think, like, again, people want the government to handle so many different things. They suck at handling our money. So why not
I
why
would
not
definitely
go
agree with that.
directly to the source? Like, if there's an online organization, if there's something like that that needs direct funding, go to them before you trust the government to take it out of your taxes and do the right thing with it. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Illinois and their mismanagement of money, which is why I believe so many communities have suffered, because they don't have the right people managing their money.
Yep.
I mean, I just think they pay their government employees so much freaking money. It's okay. I'm sorry.
So, back to the genesis of this whole thing, the George Floyd incident. I typically I try to listen to both sides of
Yeah.
I in my living room I have 4 TVs and I watch Fox News and I watch MSNBC. Mm-hmm. And it seemed in the days after his death, Fox News was defending the police officers, and I was very interested to see. No, normally I'm watching these TVs silently just because I want to see the headlines and what is on the bottom of the screen. And I found it interesting that it seemed like the Fox News guys were defending the actions of the police. I had to turn up the volume to understand this.
Yeah.
And mind you, I only listened to this for less than 10 minutes just to educate myself a little bit.
Kleenex.
I took it in and I found it interesting that the way, and I don't remember which Fox News person it was, but I do recall basically what he said was that this is a fundamental problem, this putting his knee on the neck of the perpetrator, let's say, that is a cultural thing within the police, or a policy thing within the police department, where this is actually a tactic that is taught to, keep the guy down. And I found it interesting. Obviously, I was distraught by one human doing this to another human being, but then I thought to myself, well, if this is being taught in the police academy, then a source of change could be changing police culture, changing police policy overall. Now, mind you, this is a week ago, and since then, not only the Chicago police, but other police departments have effed up in a major way, even in the heat of this whole thing. So it's interesting to me. I don't know how this would change. I don't know how this culture would change.
Okay, let's just say that it is the police culture to use different tactics, right? To subdued, is it subdue? Yeah.
Subdue, yes.
Yes, thank you. I was like, subdued. To subdue different people into compliance, right? That's basically what the tactics are. It's kind of like you're, do what I say what I do, and, we gotta do what we gotta do to subdue somebody. So let's say that is a tactic that's being used. Tactic or not, if somebody's saying I can't breathe, that's it.
I know.
That's it. Like, okay,
All tactics are off at that point.
it's all off the table at that point. You can't be like, okay, this guy is literally telling me I can't breathe, but yet I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing. I mean, at that point, that is just murder.
That officer was looking right at the cameras as he was doing this, almost like gloating about it. I mean, I don't know that he was, but the other officers were saying, let's turn him on his side. And he just was ignoring. He was blinded by anger, blinded by hatred, blinded by evil, it seems like to me.
Okay, so I think I told you I took gun classes, right? I have a FOID card in Chicago.
Yep.
That's where I took my courses from the police department, And there are very, very specific rules when it comes to defending yourself or being using force, right? George Floyd was not a threat. He didn't have a gun. He didn't have a knife. He didn't have any weapons on him. He was not a threat. And you're against officers that obviously have
It's also
all of those
four
things.
against one. You know, and I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing at the irony. He wasn't a threat, and it was 4 against 1.
Right. Same as anybody else who you see on the videos when police officers are using excessive force. And I think I just saw a video with 2 young women who were in a car. They got pulled over. The police smashed the windows of the car and
That was
then
in Atlanta, yep.
tased them.
Yep. The ironic thing about that, we're talking about race here. Those 2 cops were black.
Okay, well,
So I mean, just I wanted to mention that so people understood that story. But it's on top. It's part of it. But yeah, go ahead.
well, whatever. Besides the point is the fact that these women were not armed or excessive force. The thing is that cops, when they have to deal with a lot of crap, okay? I think psychologically a lot of them are messed up because they've had to put themselves in really bad situations. They've had to see things and do things that most of us can't even imagine. And I think a lot of that built up, pent up adrenaline is one of them. They have a lot of just maybe obviously preconceived notions of what they're getting
yeah.
themselves into.
And a lot of anger that comes along with
A
that.
lot of
too.
anger that comes with that, and a lot of it is mental. I think a lot of it has to do with some kind of mental break or mental issue that happens, that every single situation that they come into is potentially going to be a threat for them. And then
My phone just said hello to me.
yeah. So I think that definite retraining and anger management
Oh, yeah.
and therapy and a lot of those things need to help them get into a mindset. When I say they, I mean police officers, right?
Yep.
Help get them into a mindset of, we are community service people. We are here to help.
Yeah, I almost think they feel like they're the enemy, or the public is the enemy sometimes. as
Well,
opposed
I'm
to all-
sure. I mean, if you're faced with constant threat all the time, okay. If you think about it, you have our military men and women, right, that are going overseas or they're going and deployed wherever to protect people of this country, and they're faced with a threat on a regular basis, and they come back with PTSD.
Yep.
Tell me these officers don't experience PTSD.
Of course.
And if they're not getting, I mean, this is PTSD for a 30-year career,
Yeah.
right? Tell me they don't need mental health specialists to help them get back on track and realign to what's important in the community.
Yeah, the feelings that the rest of us have that they may be immune to, that causes them to react in a certain way, or just be blinded to, normal everyday reaction.
And I admit too that it's disproportionately towards African American communities where they probably feel the most threat when they're going into a situation. And this is probably mostly due, and this could be in any community, folks. This could be like any community that has drugs. I think drugs is a big issue of it, or gang alignment, where
Yep.
where gangs are running the communities, unfortunately, and those are larger threats to the police officers. So I think, that snap decision of, oh man, we're going into this community that has this reputation, they're already on high alert, and it doesn't matter if it's a cat stuck in a tree or something else. They're already mentally there. They're already, like, again, due to PTSD and prior experiences, they're already there. And again, I'm talking about all officers of any race or background here. This is again, more of the issue between, police and,
Black folks,
certain communities.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. And I guess I just mentioned that the Atlanta cops were black, just to make it ironic in the midst of this whole thing, because this was after the George Floyd thing. But I think it is a police thing and the minority communities, not white cops and
Well, that's
minority
what
communities.
that's what I'm saying is that police officers in general who are mentally just they need to be retrained on sensitivity and empathy and actually knowing and understanding situations before. I mean, I wouldn't start making, at work or anything. I wouldn't start doing stuff before I thought about it or ran it past a couple of other people first, I don't know.
Gosh, I just had a brain fart. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to add to that. We are almost at the top of the hour. When we get back from break, I want to go over a little bit of the timeline and the situation around the situation with George Floyd's killing. I have a little timeline here, which obviously I don't know where the facts come from, but it's interesting that there were probably things here that you haven't heard about this situation. There's some details that I read yesterday. And then I called my dad yesterday, or 2 nights ago, and he told me the story of his recollection of the race riots in 1968. And I recorded an interview with him last night, and I will play that for you guys as well when we get back from break in just a few minutes.
Since March 23rd, WRLR has been keeping you informed with special COVID-19 programming show, its impact on Lake County. As we head into Phase 3 of Governor Pritzker's plan to reopen the state of Illinois, 98.3 will be returning to its live regular programming. WRLR will not forget to keep you updated on the coronavirus pandemic and where you can get help during the rest of the crisis. Your live producers will have information on Lake County events as well as their special segments that will make up the voice of Lake County. Stay tuned to WRLR, but remember, this crisis is not over. Clean your hands, cover your cough or sneeze, and contain yourself if you are ill. The 3 C's and social distancing of 6 feet or more will get us through this crazy time. And of course, we'll be there to keep you informed after all. We are the voice of Lake County, 98.3 FM WRLR.
The census counts people in homes big and small.
You count if you're tiny.
You count if you're tall.
Because everyone counts in the U.S. of A. Everyone counts in their own special way. The census counts everywhere, count all who live with you. Sisters, uncles, grandmas, and your newborn babies too. 'Cause everyone counts in the U.S. of A. Everyone counts in their own special way.
We count all your neighbors and we count all your friends. Until we count you, the counting won't end. 'Cause
Everyone counts
in the U.S. of A.
Everyone counts
in their own special way. Counting is easy, counting is fun. Everyone counts and you count as one. 'Cause
Everyone counts
in the U.S. of A.
Everyone counts
in their own special way.
1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone counts
In the U.S. of A. Everyone counts in their own special way.
COVID-19 is a threat to us all, but there's a way we can fight it and win. WRLR wants us to remember the 3 C's. Clean. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap and hot water, or use sanitizer with 60% alcohol. Cover. Your cough or sneeze with a tissue or your elbow. Contain. Practice social distancing at least 6 feet apart, or stay at home, especially if you're ill. This message from the voice of Lake County, WRLR.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
RE/MAX Advisors Alice Schifo's office in Lake Villa reminds us to thank our real estate agents and first responders for their professionalism, commitment, and bravery. These men and women are willing to put their lives on the line for us with little or no thanks. Keep those who keep us safe in your thoughts and prayers. Thank them for everything they do for us. This from RE/MAX Advisors Alice Schifo's office in Lake Villa. They're open. Their number is 847-265-6000.
And we are back. Got to turn the microphones
Yeah,
on.
you
We're a
want
little rusty here.
Yeah, exactly. We're out of sorts today.
Yeah. So, a little background. A couple nights ago, I was just doing some research, getting ready for the show, and I looked up the Wikipedia page about the killing of George Floyd, and I watched the video. And I watched the video, not the whole thing, because it started to really bother me. To hear him moaning and to hear him yelling out, because they're not showing that. I don't think they're showing that on the news, and it really, really hit me hard. But then I started reading about it. So I don't think the media has really covered a lot of these facts, so I just wanted to tell the story a little bit. And by the way, as a disclaimer, I don't want anyone to think that I am in any way insinuating that the events that happened were justified or anything else. I do not support what the police officer did. Actually, I don't. To give you my commentary for a second, I don't particularly care for police officers.
Yeah, I know you don't. You have very strong opinion about our law
yeah.
enforcement. I respect what they do. If they're doing it legally and they're doing it right. If they are.
And that's my problem, is that they are always not nice.
Like I said, I think it comes from their years of work and what they've seen and done, but you still have to come to center and realize why you're doing your job, and it's to help people in the community, not to harm them and kill them and do unlawful, horrible things.
Exactly. Be nice.
I you know what I have to say, and it sounds really stupid and ignorant, and I admit that, but I've been pulled over once for speeding because
Your entire life?
Yeah, I've always
you're
had
lucky.
I've always had this horrible fear of getting pulled over because I hate not following rules and laws.
My gosh, you and I are the opposite.
Yeah. I'm one of those people. I hate like anything that has to do with conflict. I'm just like, nope. And so I got pulled over for speeding, and this guy was such a jerk to me. He was such a jerk.
Case in point.
I was like, I've never been pulled over before. He's like, I don't give a crap. Where's your information? I was like, come on, I was just coming out of Walmart or Walgreens. And he's just like, I don't care. And man, he was just like, yeah, he was having this no BS attitude with me, and I was trying to be as nice as possible, and he was just like, nope. I'm like, fine. You know what? After that, I cried.
I don't want to say typical, but I've heard that a lot. Girls cry after that.
Well, I don't know. There's something about authority or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. And at the same time, I don't know. I can't imagine putting myself out there in whatever situation on a regular basis, and I don't know. There's just some things I would never want to see. So, please continue with the timeline of what happened.
The set is the stage is set. It's the evening of Memorial Day, so a week ago Monday, the 25th. He went into this small convenience store type place called Cup Foods. He bought a pack of cigarettes, and he paid with a $20 bill, and the employee thought that he paid with a counterfeit bill. I don't know if you heard that part of it.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, it's $20. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Secondly, sounds like a pretty normal day to me.
Right. So the two employees from that store left the store about 8 p.m. and crossed the street, went to the SUV that was parked across the street, and Floyd was in the driver's seat, and two other adults were in the vehicle. They demanded that he return the cigarettes.
Wait a minute. So he wasn't alone?
Apparently, yeah.
Okay.
Why they didn't jump in, I don't know. But,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so he refused to return the cigarettes. The interaction was filmed by the restaurant's security camera, which was on the other side of the street. And then they called 911. They said he was quote unquote, awfully drunk, and another quote unquote, not in control of himself. So at 8:08.
Okay, wait a minute. So, okay, first of all, it's a pack of freaking cigarettes, people. Counterfeit $20 bill, come on. Okay, fine. I know, like, Is there
the
any
battles.
is there any proof that that it even was or wasn't? I know it doesn't even matter,
I would
but
hope that they would have looked into that at this point, just to see if all of this was
okay.
nothing.
Anyway, big freaking deal. $20, pack of cigarettes. He's a little drunk. Whatever. Okay, continue.
I hope that, by the way, I hope that Karma gets those restaurant or those store employees, and well, I guess they were just kind of doing their job in a harsh way, but they didn't cause them to die.
A little overreacting, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But I mean, even if you get a guy arrested, that's still kind of harsh. But okay, the two of the officers entered the Cup Foods and crossed the street to go to the SUV. So they obviously talked to the guys in the store, went across the street. Mm-hmm. Wow, it sounds like right away the officer named Lane drew his gun and ordered Floyd to put his hands on the steering wheel. I don't think he would have done that if it was a white guy. I hate to say it. Who knows if this is a bad area of the town either. He complied, and then he holstered his weapon. Someone parked behind Floyd's car began recording a video, which I think I would do too. Following a brief struggle...
Wait a minute. Where did this... that's very interesting.
Where did what?
So the person was who parked behind Floyd's car, was that just coincidence?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they started, rolling on their phone, which is good.
Because they saw something that was
It looked a little harsh. Yeah.
a little okay, cool.
There's a bunch of citations here which we could click on, but following a brief struggle, the officer named Officer Lane pulled him from the SUV, and Floyd briefly resisted.
Okay,
Lane cuffed
so
him.
back up 1 second. So George was complying. He had his hand on the steering wheel.
Then he resisted getting pulled out of the car, I guess.
Okay, and for what reason? Why would he need to be pulled out of the vehicle?
Yeah, who knows what kind of discussion they even had here? Like, sir, blah, 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 cigarettes. Who knows?
I don't think there's any reason why somebody needs to be pulled out of a vehicle.
I'm with you 100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, continue.
So Lane pulled him from the vehicle. He resisted while he got handcuffed. So this is one cop, Lane. He explained to him why he was being arrested, and then Floyd became compliant, which we've seen that video where he's, talking to him, brings him against the wall. So it seems like George goes in and out of compliance here. Like he resists a little bit, and then he's just like, okay, fine,
Yeah.
The other officer, Quang, sat him on the sidewalk against the wall.
Yeah, and I've seen that, and it seemed like everything was just, I don't want to say normal, but it seemed like it was, under control.
Yeah. So they sit him down, then they get him up, they bring him across the street by the Cup Foods place. And then Floyd fell to the ground next to the police car parked on the curb. Officers pick him up, place him against the car's door. Floyd told the officers he was claustrophobic and could not breathe. This is something that really struck me. Obviously, this guy warned them that he was having trouble breathing as he's standing up. That to me would, I don't know if their policy says to call an ambulance right away, but to me that would be, you'd be concerned for the person's life or for the person's health and well-being at that point. And it doesn't seem like that happened. So another officer arrived and guarded his vehicle across the street, and the two people who had been in it, and the two people who were in it. So the car was guarded by a cop. Body cam footage shows this officer assuring these two people that an ambulance is coming and telling them to stay put. He was dead when the ambulance came. A third police car arrived with the ass clown at 8:17.
Whoa, that cop came in last?
Yeah. He was kind of the senior officer of these four, apparently. 17 minutes later. And then at this point, the guy Quang was struggling with Floyd again for a minute in the driver's side back seat while the other officer watched. Floyd didn't want to enter the car, even after officers moved him from the driver's side to the passenger's side. And and
Wait-
then it's go ahead.
Which car are we talking about?
The police car.
Okay.
And then 2 minutes later, the ass clown pulls Floyd across the back seat from the driver's side to the passenger side and out of the car, causing Floyd to fall to the ground, where, still in handcuffed, he lay on the pavement.
Ooh.
And then he stopped moving
Ooh.
about 3 minutes after that.
So at what point was this ass clown on his neck?
I don't know. Let's see. Because he arrives at 8:17. Floyd stopped moving at 8:20. At 8:20. So that's when he stopped moving. So he was on the ground. I guess it doesn't mean that he had passed away at 8:20. He stopped trying to like wiggle around and resist, but he was motionless, but he was still speaking and still telling them things. So at 8:20, Floyd was face down on the pavement, and at that point he was on his neck. So he pulled him out of the car to do this.
I think it's important to talk about this timeline because for me, as I listen to it, it's so blatantly horrible.
Barbaric. It's barbaric and bullyish.
Horrible
and
what
unnecessary.
happened, and to me, all I'm hearing is this guy who may or may not have been a tipsy. You know, like so many of us out there who, you know, a lot of people who are, you know, drinking or smoking pot or whatever it is. It's not abnormal. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's absolutely like nothing to warrant this kind of threat or
They already had him in the damn car.
anything that happened to him.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And he didn't have anything on him.
Nope.
He didn't have any weapons or anything on him.
He's telling them he's having health-related issues.
Right.
And this guy gets harsher with him. 16 times he tells him in 5 minutes that he can't breathe.
16 times.
16 times, at least. George tells him he can't breathe.
Okay, well,
Witnesses are yelling at the cops. He can't breathe. Get up.
what about the other cops? Did they say anything?
They suggested they put him on his side. He was on his stomach. They
And then
suggested
that
put him-
one cop was like, no.
I don't even know if he acknowledged them, but they did twice at least. I did read in this story or another story. So at 8:25 is when he was unconscious.
Well, I mean, I think we can all agree that this is a tragedy. It's a horrible, horrible tragedy, an event that occurred. And, you know, the reactions from protesters was the right thing to do.
We have not even began to talk about looting versus protesting and everything else. But first, let's hear a history lesson. I'll take a quick break. I'll cue up the interview with my dad, who was telling us about the race riots and the aftermath of 1968. You guys think that 2020 has been a bad year? Wait till you hear what this country went through back in 1968. We'll be back after this.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
RE/MAX Advisors Alice Schifo's office in Lake Villa reminds us to thank our real estate agents and first responders for their professionalism, commitment, and bravery. These men and women are willing to put their lives on the line for us with little or no thanks. Keep those who keep us safe in your thoughts and prayers. Thank them for everything they do for us. This from RE/MAX Advisors Alice Schifo's office in Lake Villa. They're open. Their number is 847-265-6000.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
The census counts people in homes big and small,
You count if you're tiny.
You count if you're tall.
because everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way. The census counts everywhere, count all who live with you. Sisters, uncles, grandmas, and your newborn babies too. 'Cause everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way.
We count all your neighbors and we count all your friends. Until we count you, the counting won't end. 'Cause everyone counts in the US of A.
Everyone counts
In their own special way. Counting is easy, counting is fun. Everyone counts and you count as one. 'Cause
Everyone counts
in the US of A.
Everyone counts
In their own special way.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way.
COVID-19 is a threat to us all, but there's a way we can fight it and win. WRLR wants us to remember the 3 C's. Clean. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap and hot water, or use sanitizer with 60% alcohol. Cover. Your cough or sneeze with a tissue or your elbow. Contain. Practice social distancing at least 6 feet apart, or stay at home, especially if you're ill. This message from the voice of Lake County, WRLR.
Okay. So I decided that with all of the riots and protests going on now, that I wanted to talk to someone who lived through something similar to this. And so why not talk to my dad, who lived through the race riots of 1968. So back in 1968, Dad, you were 22 years old, and tell me about what was going on in your life back then, the day that Martin Luther King was shot.
Well, it was a Thursday night, and they broke into the TV and they announced that Martin Luther King had been killed in Memphis. And then the next day, I went to work as usual. I worked at the Chicago Tribune. I would take the, we called it the Lake Street L in those days. It's now called the Green Line. I would get on at Central Avenue. I'd take it east downtown to the Tribune at Staten Lake. Got off at Staten Lake. I don't remember anything going on Friday morning. I don't remember anything going on Friday morning, but on the way home on the same L going back home on the Lake Street L, we could see smoke coming from south of the L train near Madison Avenue.
So this is between Central and downtown. So actually, you got out of downtown, you're on your way home back to the Central exit, and you could see smoke to the north of you?
To south of us.
South of you, okay. All right. And what neighborhood was that?
Well, that was around, as I recall, it was around the Henry Horner housing projects.
Okay.
A vast complex of high-rise buildings.
Now
Go ahead.
you first told me about this when I was a kid, and you had taken us to Bulls games. You showed me vacant lots, and that you were saying to this day there are vacant lots that still exist because they were burned down during this time, right after Dr. King was shot. Is that right?
Yeah, the people in those days, they would, the looters and the rioters, they rioted in their own neighborhood. They actually burned down stores that they probably patronized and left themselves with, no access to, grocery store or drugstore. In those days, we didn't have big drugstores. We had corner drugstores. So a lot of the buildings that burned down were never replaced.
Yeah.
And the buildings that survived, some of them were damaged, and they were just boarded up. And some of the other ones were boarded up because there was nobody that wanted to use them for anything.
Now, I interrupted you, so take me back to that train ride. You saw the smoke. Did you know what the smoke was coming from, and then what were the guys around you saying?
Yeah, we knew what was going on. I guess we probably, even though we didn't have, smartphones that tell us what was going on, the word got to us that there was something going on.
Yeah.
So we knew that it was. And some of the folks, we weren't really scared because we were speeding along on an L train, but a couple people said, I hope they don't start shooting from those high-rise buildings at at our train. So
Yeah.
half joking, but half afraid, because who knows what could happen when you got hundreds of people living in one area like that.
Yeah. So, do you recall that was Thursday? You said you were telling me last night that was Thursday, April 4th, 1968, right?
Yeah, the other day when you mentioned it, I went through my memory and I said, I think it's April 4th, and I think it was a Thursday. So the reason I think it was a Thursday is because it seemed like, we went to work on a Friday, and by the time we came back to work on Monday, really, a lot of it was over, I think. A lot of the stuff was over. It might not have been, but maybe it just didn't interfere with my commute or my work day. I went to work on Monday. One thing I remember about the mayor back in those days is Mayor Richard J. Daley, the first Mayor Daley.
Mm-hmm.
He was on TV, and he said he instructed his policemen to kill or maim looters. I can't forget that, because why would you say maim? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
very Trump-like.
I know. Was from your recollection, was he kind of like? Did he kind of have that demeanor to him?
Yeah, he was.
Overall?
He certainly wasn't. He was a Democrat, but he wasn't a liberal. He certainly wasn't liberal.
Mm-hmm. Now, you also taught me something else last night, and we could still talk about the race riots, but you were talking to me about another event that happened a few months later during the Democratic National Convention, and that was called the police riot.
Well, let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
1968 was not a very good year. First, we had the King assassination, and then we had the riots, and then in June we had Bobby Kennedy got assassinated.
So April and June, okay.
And then in the middle of summer, they held the Democratic Convention in Chicago, and there was a lot of young people were protesting the Vietnam War, and the convention was held downtown somewhere, so the protesters were gathering in Grant Park, and protesters were, they were abusing the police. They were throwing things at the police. They were throwing feces and urine at the police, and some of them were in the high-rise hotel, and they were dropping bags of stuff on the police. And they went off the deep end, and it was later called a police riot. So what we saw on TV that night were people getting clubbed, people getting dragged, people getting punched, people getting dragged into the we called them paddy wagons in those days. The police vehicles that are like SUVs now,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was first you had King, then you had Bobby Kennedy, then you had the convention and the riots, and then to our mainstream wisdom, we elected Richard Nixon at the end of the year, so it wasn't a very good year.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. My music is not working for some reason. I don't know why. Everything is not good today. I think it's just all the cobwebs that we need to get out of here. So we'll be right back after this. Nothing's playing, so I guess we're just going to keep talking to you guys because my iPad is just not cooperating today. Maybe it's Spotify. I blame Spotify. Screw those guys. So there's a little recap of some things that my dad mentioned from 1968. I'll turn your microphone on too, Biz.
You want me to talk? Thanks.
I would love for you to talk. So I didn't know that there were so many parallels. I just said, hey, I'll talk to my dad because there's looting now, just like there was looting in 1968. I had no idea that we had an example of police brutality also in the same historic thing. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Oh my gosh, this is history repeating itself over and over again. This is why so many people are upset and frustrated. When is this stuff going to stop, right?
Yep.
And I can say like the looting and everything else. Obviously, there are people that are very angry over what happened, and this is their way of being like, okay, you're not listening to us when we're peaceful. How about listening to us when we're, destroying stuff so you get a point across? But on the same hand, there's plenty of people who are protesting peacefully to get the message across that way as well, because overall violence has no place anywhere, right?
Yep.
And a lot of people from outside groups, I heard that they infiltrated the peaceful protests, and they're the ones that were causing mayhem and chaos and destroying property.
I'm having some issues today. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I also watched this really great video of this woman who was basically yelling at protesters for destroying her neighborhood. And like, what are you doing? These are people who live here in this community. They go down the street and they get their supplies at this one place that you basically destroyed. What are you thinking? There's better ways of doing this. Honestly, I consider myself a pretty open-minded person. I see all sides of the spectrum. I personally don't believe in damaging property because I, again, am one of those law people, and
yeah, I'm
terrified of doing anything that's gonna ruin, destroy anything, or potentially land me in jail. So, but as some people say, maybe this is what society needs for a wake-up call. Maybe this is the way to get people to think about things and talk about things, and it's worked. You better believe it's worked. People are talking about it. Everybody's talking about it.
Dialogues going on out there, including ours right now. Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure that people, white people and black people, are going to have this to talk about for the time being, and they're going to learn a lot more. I've learned a lot.
Well, yeah, and it's really a matter of what can we do? What can we do from here? Mm-hmm. And
how can we support the cause overall, making things better?
Here's the one thing, and I was trying to explain to somebody about this. I will never know what it's like to be a different race other than the way I was born. I will never know, right? I can't even imagine or even try to put myself in somebody else's shoes. I can't.
Yep.
One thing I can say, though, is that I've been bullied when I was younger. Mm-hmm. I was bullied. And people, kids especially, can be really nasty to each other. And imagine being bullied all the time for no reason.
Literally no reason. Yep.
And then when you put it in that perspective, aren't we anti-bullying society anyway? Yep. I mean,
it's a huge message out there, right?
And I really do think that people that say and do things as a form of intimidation, bullying, or anything else, I mean, you're an idiot. you're just a jackass.
Definitely.
I mean, you have nothing else better to do in your life than to be a big bully. And I don't know. I'm not saying I'm perfect, folks. I guarantee that I have said and done things that were not intentional and absolutely came out the wrong way.
Oh yeah, definitely. You never know how people are going to receive a message, but
I don't know. I mean, that's the other part of the politically correct culture that we live in is don't offend. And I guarantee that just me being human with a mouth
you are a human with a mouth.
that I'm gonna absolutely say and do things that are not gonna be politically correct just for the nature of being human.
Definitely.
Just as I believe, kids who don't know any better point to another person and say something about them, like, "Oh, that lady's fat."
Yeah.
They don't know what they're saying. It just comes out of their mouth.
Yeah, they don't know the consequences or how it impacts another
No,
person. You're
but
right.
at the same time, do we want to live in a culture that is just like you can't, like I said, don't do things on purpose, but if for some reason something comes out of your mouth, you don't mean anything by it. And maybe that's why people say, oh, people are innately racist because they honestly don't know what they're saying or doing. So let's talk about Drew Brees for a second because I went to Purdue. Drew Brees was my quarterback. I have this very strong personal, and he doesn't even know it, relationship with Drew Brees. No, I've never stalked him or anything, but
were you guys there at the same time?
yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's about your age, actually.
Yeah, he's 41.
Yeah.
And, going to Purdue at the same time with Drew Brees, I just always have had this love for him. And when he was talking about that he doesn't support anybody who doesn't stand for the American flag. And then he said that he doesn't understand why people were kneeling during the national anthem.
Yep.
And I could see where he was coming from because he's literally thinking, I love my country. And then I can understand where other people are coming from is you don't understand. This America is not equal. I don't have the same feeling towards this country as you do. I don't have the same feeling towards the flag as you do. And I have love for this country. I really do. And nobody's surprised that I have love for this country. And we're a flawed country. And let me tell you, every single other country out there is flawed too. We're not the only flawed country in this world. There are, believe it or not, there's many, many countries who have had to deal with the same type of racist issues and indigenous racist issues. And this goes back to the 1400s. This goes way, way back in time. So, but I mean, people in this country have a right to protest. I don't necessarily agree protesting this country because honestly, I've been to other countries and we have it pretty darn good here, despite the fact that we're dysfunctional.
Yeah.
But we are really a good country to at least try to get better all the time. But as somebody's right to protest, I mean, I can't ever disagree somebody's right to protest or freedom of speech. I can't.
Well, you've heard that quote from Voltaire, right?
No.
I have it here saved in my...
Guys, if we didn't have freedom of speech, we wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't even be talking and yakking on this show.
I do not agree with what you have to say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. I actually got into a little bit of a text argument with a friend of mine yesterday because he was offended by something that one of my friends said on one of my posts about a police car being on fire, and he reported that comment to Facebook. And I kind of called him a tattletale or a snitch or whatever. And I said, and I sent him that quote. So one of those things, yeah, I may not agree with you, but gosh darn it, in this country we can say it.
Yeah.
So I think that's good.
Yeah. So, sorry, Drew Brees. I'm sorry for everybody else.
I And I
who's been personally impacted by everything, and in a way we've all been impacted with this, but I can't, like I said, I can absolutely not ever understand what it's like to be somebody else. I mean, I was like you, like me, like everybody, we're just born this way. You know, this is it.
Okay, Lady Gaga.
I know.
Delving into the Drew Brees thing, just for another second. I wonder why, and just getting back to the Colin Kaepernick thing too. I wonder why, if he was and I'm asking questions here. I don't know the answer. Colin Kaepernick was doing a protest of police brutality.
Right.
He wasn't doing a protest against America, against the government or anything else. So I've been asking myself this the last couple of days. I never asked myself this before. I wonder why he chose to do it during the national anthem, because it looks like he's, to Drew Brees' point, it looks like Colin Kaepernick is disrespecting the flag. And I think most of the people, even though he said it was for police brutality, most people saw it as being anti-American or disrespecting the soldiers and the military folks.
Well, I think that if you were going to pick the perfect time to protest, that would have been it. I mean, honestly, obviously, he got a lot of attention. He got a lot of recognition. He got a lot of people thinking. What other time were you going to do that?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking that.
And here's the thing, people. You're going to have two sides to every coin. You're going to have people who hate the person for kneeling during the anthem. You're going to have people praising the person for kneeling during the anthem. That's just the way it's going to be. We're all not going to, agree on certain things.
I wonder if people that are. I mean, I'm a little bit patriotic. I love the country. I'm not like Mr. Patriotic, rah rah rah. But I don't knock America either. So it's one of those things. If the people that saw it as offensive that he was kneeling, if the people that saw it as offensive kneeling during the national anthem, or with the flag there, if they truly knew that his protest was against police brutality, is it still disrespectful in their eyes to this country and to the flag, because they're not actually protesting? He's not actually protesting against our country. So people should stand during the national anthem regardless. And that's why it's offensive, I guess, even though it's not a protest against the flag.
I don't know, guys. I mean, do whatever you want.
Kind of a rhetorical question. I've been thinking about this a lot lately.
Do whatever you want. I might not agree with somebody else's actions, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to do the same.
And it doesn't mean I'm going to call the cops on him or try to have him, smothered.
See,
Yeah.
this is the thing. This is, again, when we have two sides to every coin. We have those who... You have those who want the government to do more. You have those who want the government to do less. You have those who want people to live their lives freely. You have others that prefer you not to do anything at all. I mean, it's just everybody has thoughts. Everybody has opinions. Everybody is impacted by different things differently. I don't know. I mean, again, I hate breaking laws and stuff because I'm scared crapless to ever have anything on my permanent record or anything, but I just, again, I don't know what it's like to just be walking around minding my own business, having people staring at me, making sure I don't steal stuff. I mean, I don't live in that reality. I have been in plenty of situations though where I was the only Caucasian person, and there's a little discomfort there, and as they say, if you're going to learn, you need to be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, that learning begins at the end of your comfort zone. So, how was that? How did that feel? Because I've been on a few occasions in a situation where I was the only white person too, and it's you find some common ground with some folks, and it feels interesting at first.
Well, I have to say that the people that I was with were absolutely fun, hilarious, and an absolutely great time, and we would go into Chicago, celebrate birthdays, have a really good time. And I got a lot of stares. I got a lot of people looking at me.
What was the environment?
It could have been a cookout, a birthday party.
Okay, so it wasn't a public event.
Well, no, some of them, I hung out with these people for many, many years.
I was just curious if you were getting stares because you're at a public event that was mainly minority or whatever. But
Well, yeah.
in this case, it was somebody's house. You're saying, right?
No, it's been. Oh, am I still on? I think I did. Oh, yeah.
You're still on, but you maybe can't hear yourself.
No, it's actually every situation. I used to go to the south side of Chicago, actually up in Dalton, where a good friend of mine lived and her family. And
Okay.
so it would either be up there, it would be in Chicago, it would be, some nice restaurants. It would kind of be all over the spectrum. And sometimes it was a little uncomfortable because maybe I didn't understand a joke or something, or I know that there was a lot of razzing back and forth. There was definitely a lot of razzing that happened, and usually at my expense. But it's fine, good-natured about it, and, friendship is friendship, man. I mean, be uncomfortable, surround yourself with good people, and enjoy yourself. And right now, I think I have a really good mix of friends. I think I actually have more Asian friends now. So that's another experience for me, and going to places with my mostly Asian friends as well, and a totally different experience. So it's been a wonderful experience when you learn from other people and you just talk about different things. And if you're good friends, you can talk about different things and still respect each other and have love for each other. And it's just one step. But I've always kind of been this way. Even though I grew up in Libertyville, I've always kind of been this way. I lean towards people who are really nice, sweet, good, honest people.
So you said you have a lot of Asian friends right now. Have you ever talked to them about racism, and do they experience that?
Yes, they do.
What are the contexts? Do you know? And if you
Coronavirus.
Okay, I know that happened. Did your
Yeah.
friends experience that personally, or I know I heard it in the news?
I don't think personally, but their friends have. There's definitely things. I mean, think about it. After 9/11, right?
Well, Middle Eastern folks. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Then people were targeted for that reason, and then now coronavirus, everybody apparently is Chinese, and
That's just nasty.
which is so ridiculous.
And stupid. I mean, just really dumb. I mean,
Yeah.
geez.
And I put on my Facebook, and I'm obviously talking about this on radio, but I swear to you, if I see anything, if I just watched something on, and I really wanted to learn more about this. There was this poor, beautiful woman who said that she was intimidated by a man in a pickup truck while she was waiting in line with her mother to pick up drugs at Walgreens, right?
I know who you're talking about. You're talking about Brittany Payton?
I don't know if it was Brittany. I don't know who that
Because
is.
she talked about it on Fox News, from Fox News. She talked about Walter Payton's daughter. She talked about the same scenario in the Walgreens drive-through or whatever, or parking lot.
Okay, well, what happened in this case, and I apologize if I don't know who the individual was. I was just paging through videos. She said that a guy got out with a watermelon.
This is it, yeah. And he like gestured at her with the watermelon and ha 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 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Got out with a watermelon, and then after that started making monkey calls to her.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, like, who the hell? Who the hell? Like, in 2020 does this crap? And so right then and there, if anybody else was outraged, and I'm sure everybody, and I hope everybody was outraged after they heard this, if I would have saw that man, if I would have seen him do something like that to another human being, and I personally, oh my gosh, I'm just so ticked off just seeing something. Make a commitment to yourself. Just like if you saw a bully beating up a little kid, right?
Yeah.
Make a commitment to yourself. If you see something, say something. Make it stop then and there. And if you're in a position to come to defense of somebody else, do it. Do it then and on the spot. Don't think about it when you go home and be like, man, I wish I would have said something or do something to make that stop. That needs to stop.
Most definitely.
Because
I always say that
That's insane.
I try to call out people if I feel that they're being evil. So I always try to call them out. I don't care if I'm sober, I'm drunk, or whatever. I have the cojones to do that because It's just an inner justice that I have within me.
See,
I hate that crap.
here's the thing. If I was ever around my friends and something like that happened, like I have not seen it outright like that, and I don't know if it's because I'm northern suburbs of Chicago that I haven't seen something like that. But I mean, it could happen anywhere to anybody. But seriously, if anything would have happened like that in my presence, man, there's a bottle being broken.
Well, and you bring up a good point. I will defend people that are within my love circle to the death. You know, if anybody abuses my dog, talks smack to anybody who I love. Mm-hmm. But I want to extend that sometimes to if I see something that's happening to somebody I don't know.
See something, say something.
Yeah.
And you know what?
WTF.
This goes for everything across the board. This goes to sexual harassment. This goes to blatant racism. Even if it's not overt, it could be just slighted too. You know, obviously, if somebody says something that's just like, "Huh, are you serious? You should have known better. You're stupid." Yeah. You know, stuff like that. Or if fat shaming.
Anything.
I don't know anything to me that constitutes as bullying.
Make it stop. Help the cause, yeah.
Because I was bullied. I'm not going to stand for that.
I have memories of that as well.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a very somber show today.
Well, we needed to talk about this. We needed to spend the time to talk about it. Again,
Definitely.
not talking about it would be insensitive, would be ridiculous not to
We can't
talk
ignore
about it.
Yeah. I have a lot of fun, silly topics for next week. I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah.
Let's cut out of here early. I am hungry. I need to get gas.
I need coffee.
And I have a shoot at 10:30. So
All right.
we call it a show.
All right, everybody, stay safe. We love you. I would love to, like, next time get some calls in. If anybody, listen, guys, this is a public platform. This is for the community. Come in, talk about stuff. Talk about how you feel. Use this platform for your voice. This is what community radio is all about.
Yes, and we will be here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, 7 to 9 a.m. with Biz, 6 to 7 for me. And we're happy to hear your thoughts on this because I know everybody has a position on this and everybody has been thinking about it quite a bit, and we want to hear your thoughts. We'll see you next week.
See you next week, guys.
Wake
Bye.
on Lake County next week.
Bye-bye.
My friends keep telling me that you ain't no good. Oh, but they don't know that I'd leave you if I could. I guess I'm uptight and I'm stuck like glue. 'Cause I ain't never loved a man the way that I love you. Some time ago I thought you had run out of fools, but I was so wrong. You got one that you'll never lose. The way you treat me is a shame. How could you hurt me so bad? Baby, you know that I'm the best thing that you ever had. Kiss me once again. Don't you never say that we're through. 'Cause I ain't never loved a man the way that I love